Last week, I dove into my love of thrifting and how this was instilled in me at a very young age. I thrifted, repurposed, and reused items even before it was the cool thing to do. I went from being completely embarrassed as a young child to loving it as an adult. This is definitely an episode you guys want to check out. Now, in this week's episode, I am going to be interviewing Tara with the Reclaimed Ranch. Tara and her husband go on weekly thrifting missions and find some of the best goods. We are going to talk about how she turned her thrifting into a small business and then created her YouTube channel to showcase her beautiful upcycles.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall, real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock. I want to thank you guys all for joining me on my podcast. This is episode 13. And if any of you are new here, what I've been doing is doing an interview of a new guest every other week. So in today's episode, I am really excited to be interviewing Tara with the Reclaimed Ranch. From the moment that I met Tara, I felt like we had so much in common. Our love of thrifting and upcycling, I just felt like we were best friends right from the beginning. So let's go ahead and give a big welcome to Tara. I'm just going to bring her on. Let me do that now. There she is.
Hi.
Hello, Tara. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for having me. I'm
Oh,
excited.
sure. I am so excited that you're here. I was thinking back to when I first met you. I'm like, it was at Debbie Beard's paint inlay party. And I came running in to dinner. It was eventful for me. I ended up getting delayed flights. And then when I actually ended up at my Airbnb, they didn't have a room or they didn't have my Airbnb actual key in the lockbox. So I ended up at dinner very late, but we sat across from each other and I just felt like we totally hit it off right away.
Yeah.
So,
It was like we
like,
knew each other forever.
I know it was great. I know. And then one of the first things she said is, you like said, I want to be your assistant if you ever need help.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I think you live kind of far away, but
2,000 miles. It's okay.
I know. But I'm like, okay, maybe someday we'll see. So maybe virtual, right?
Yeah.
So, but for my viewers and listeners who haven't had the opportunity to have found you yet, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was in the dental field for quite a while, over about 22 years.
Okay.
And my oldest son then came to me one year and said, "Hey, you're going to be a grandma." So then I quit my job to watch the
Okay.
baby. But being at home, I've always been a hands-on type of person. Like working in the dental field, I was working with tools constantly. So I always did DIY projects when I was younger in the home, things like that. So when I'm at home watching baby, I can't just sit still. I have to
Yeah.
be doing something, you know. I have one of those minds that constantly keep thinking, what can I do next? What can I do next? So I just started upcycling things in my home, like different furniture pieces, different smalls, and then I was like, oh, this is actually looking pretty good. And then people that would come over would be, wow, you actually made that, you know?
Yeah.
So then I started making things for friends and family, and it kind of just grew from there. But yeah, I just have a love for creating. And so
Yeah.
I ended up getting a booth and making my own things, and
Okay.
has grown into a business. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I was always wondering because I'm like, I think she stays at home, or like because you talk about taking care of your grandchild a lot, and I didn't realize you were in the dental field. That's
Yes. Orthodontics for 18 years. And then I did general dentistry for 2 and oral surgery for 2, almost 2.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you ever
I
need
didn't,
any advice on dental stuff,
I'm not a fan of the dentist or orthodontist or this mouth is worth a small fortune, by the way. So I,
Yep, they
like,
all
yes.
are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I had braces and I have a very like small mouth. I know this is like doesn't even pertain to what we're going to be talking about, but I had to have like several teeth. Like I had four of my big teeth pulled and then my wisdom teeth pulled. So I had a lot of teeth pulled.
Me too.
I was never happy going to the dentist. So I'm glad that you have decided to leave that field and join
Yeah,
us.
well, yeah, it's a lot more fun this way.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so you started off creating for yourself and
Mhm.
that sounds like a lot like a lot of people do. They start, doing things for their own home, their friends, their family.
Yeah.
Um what actually like how did you actually decide like I am going to start my small business?
Well, from what my basement, my garage, and my storage unit says, it's a little full.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
can't keep everything I make. So yeah, that kind of ended up pushing me um, to get a booth, and I did at one point have a booth for a few months, and then I had carpal tunnel issues in my right
Oh,
hand, so I had to have
okay.
surgery. So I pulled out of that place, and then during the big COVID time when everything shut down, I was again sitting at home with nothing to do,
Right.
but projects. And so I started watching YouTube. And I'm a
Okay.
sponge. Like I love learning new things. And so watching you, of course, and Heather from Create Your Own Cozy, Jamie Ray, all these big YouTubers, I was like inspired and was like, maybe I could do this,
Mhm.
maybe this is something that I could actually make a business out of.
Right.
And so eventually I got another booth and it took off really well. And so I ended up getting another booth.
That's
And so
awesome.
far, yeah, I know it's just like addicting
It is. It really is. Yes.
because that means I get to go shopping more, right? And get more things. So,
Yes.
but yeah, it just kind of evolved into having a couple booths, and I didn't really even know about starting a business until last year. Like
Okay.
that wasn't even on the radar until I was like, okay, I think I've done this for a little bit long enough, and let's see where this goes. Because my husband's like, okay, when baby gets big enough and has to go to preschool and kindergarten, what are you going to do?
Mhm.
Are you going to go back to work? And I'm like, oh. But then I started pushing my older son. I'm like, do you want to have another baby? So
Oh my gosh.
then I
He's
really
not, is
got to
he?
think. No, not
Oh,
yet. No, no. But
I'm like,
he's 31, so he could, but no.
okay.
um, so then I really got thinking, okay, is this the direction I really want to go? I love creating. And
Mhm.
said to myself, yeah. So I got to get up and do something about it. So yeah, last March is when I actually got the business name.
Okay.
And um, from there, it's just kind of evolving again. It's
Right.
growing little by little. I didn't
Exactly.
want it to explode. I just like little growth at a time is how
Right.
I like it.
No, I agree. I think it's much more manageable when you are growing little by little.
Yes.
And, even before we jumped on here, I kind of talked about that with my own business that, I tackle one thing, I get really good at that, and then I tackle the next thing. And then I just keep on growing and getting bigger and better.
Yes.
So that's great. I love hearing that. So, this is like a two-part question. First part is like, how long did you have your booths before you actually decided you were a business?
I had them, let's see, probably about a year and a half.
Okay. So you were, just so you know, a business a year and a half ago. You just didn't call yourself
Technically,
a business.
yes. I just didn't get the name and the certificate.
Right, right, right. Okay. Well, then the second part of that question, I have been dying to know, like, how did you come up with your small business name?
The name.
Yeah, like how
Okay,
I
so I was born and raised in the city,
okay.
but I am a country girl at heart. Like farm life for me is my dream. And in my first marriage, we actually had a mini farm. We had cows, horses,
Oh,
chickens, ducks, all kinds. And I loved taking care of the animals. Like that was my thing. So I've just been drawn to the countryside, the farm life. And so I love looking at old barns like out in the wheat fields, and they tell a story. They've been on this long journey, and just that weathered gray wood. I just love it. And I don't know if you can see in the background, this wood on my
Oh, yeah, yeah,
kitchen wall was actually our fence from when I was a little girl because I live
yeah.
in the house that I grew up in.
Oh,
So when we tore it down, I was like, I don't want to get rid of it. It's so beautiful. So I ended up putting it on my wall. But so
oh,
it's reclaimed wood is
yes.
my love, and I want to be on the ranch again. So it's the reclaimed ranch.
Oh, I love it. That is awesome. So, do you think someday you're going to have your own?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
do? Okay. All right. Yes. So
When the
it's
kids are out of the nest, yep, I'm gonna get
Mhm.
my own farm again.
Okay. Well, I don't want to farm. I mean, I don't want animals and things like that. But what I do want is like after spending like the last couple years at Antique Acres, I would love to have something like that, like
Yeah,
a piece of property where I have my house and then I have like a barn like that. I would just love it.
yeah,
So,
it's pretty cool.
yeah, I would need groundkeepers though. I couldn't do it all. I would,
I like to
I
be
would
my own groundkeeper.
I'm like, I don't know if I could keep up with I don't think I can add that to my to-do list every
Yeah,
day.
you don't have
I'm
time
like,
for that.
"No, I don't have time for that." So, but I would love something like that. So, I too and here in Wisconsin, there are so many beautiful old barns. So, I definitely have a warm spot in my heart for that too.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
and that's where I came up with the barn quilts because here on the old barns, when you come to Wisconsin, you're gonna have to look, there's barn quilts all over the barns. So it's
Oh,
very
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. There is actually a map and you can Google like the barn quilt map and you could actually go from barn to barn to barn to see all the different barn quilts. It's really cool. Oh
Wow.
yeah. I
I'll have to
love
check
it.
it out.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, well, I don't know how much time you guys are gonna have. You're gonna be like thrifting and going to different shops, so we'll
Yeah.
see. Um, so yes, and just for you guys, Tara is attending my event in October, so she will be here in Wisconsin.
So excited.
So if you guys are attending, you will see her. I know I'm very excited too. So one question I have as well for you are like what are some of the challenges that you've experienced now with owning your small business? I know you said that you officially became a small business in March,
Yes.
but really it's been like 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Um, definitely I have like no knowledge of the business world. Like I don't like taxes freak me out. My husband deals with all that. So that's kind of what stopped me from doing the business in the first place for so many years was the business side of it. Like how do I
Mhm.
make a budget? Because I have never budgeted in my life. If I want something, I get it. Like and then the taxes and all the accounting and all that stuff. So he definitely has helped me with that part of it so that
Okay.
I can be the creative.
Right.
Because that's my thing. I'm a doer. Like
Mhm.
I want to make the things, but I don't want to have to be the manager of the
Right.
business.
Right.
So that's definitely one of the challenges. Marketing has been another one, trying to get out, which you're helping in your group,
Yeah.
get on that social media because that's free public marketing for your business. But yeah, just getting things or getting your name out into the community so that people know who you are, where you are, and where they can find you. So
Mhm. I know. And I think that's a struggle for every small business owner, especially when you have a storefront, even an online store. I just remember the day that I opened my online store, I was like, okay, I'm going to hit publish. I'm going to do it. And I hit publish and I was like, where are the orders? Like I sat there and I'm just like, it was crickets, and I'm like, I realized very quickly, like, nobody knows that you just hit publish. So,
right, right. I
I,
did the same thing. I'm like, why aren't I getting any orders? Like,
yeah. Yes. And so it's like you have to work for it. And so yes, that is so key. And even like at the different vendor locations that I have, so often they, as in other vendors within the building, think that that business should do all the your marketing. No, you need to step up and do your own marketing. And that's what I really reinforce in my membership group is that yes, you have to do your own marketing because you can't rely on somebody else to bring business to your storefront.
No,
So
no, you can't.
I know it's crazy to think that, but
I know.
I know. But
Especially
they,
the employees that work there, they're like, "What? You want me to
yeah,
do what?"
I know. Exactly. No, that's what it's still your responsibility. So
Mhm.
all right. So that's been one of your biggest challenges. So, what now? One thing that were, like hanging out with you and chatting with you and being in the group with you, you always like talk about how you go thrifting with your husband. So, I know your husband helps with the accounting aspect of it, but tell me, how did you drag him along on your thrifting missions? Because honestly, number 1, I don't think I could bring my husband. He'd be like, "Why are you buying that? You don't need it." My cart pictures that I share with my viewers would never be this high, like, up in the air if my husband was with. So, talk to me, girl. What
Okay, well, um, he had never, like, stepped foot in thrift stores before me,
okay. Wow.
which I
Okay.
thought was funny. So, the way it kinda got started was I was like, "Okay, see ya, I'm going thrifting," and then he's just sitting at home. He's like, "Well, this is no fun." He's like, we're both time people in our love language, like we spend time together. And
Okay.
so he's like, "Okay, fine. I'll just kind of tag along and see." Same thing. He was like, "Why are you grabbing that? What are you gonna?" But when he sees the finished product, he's like, "Wow." So we're the creative mind where we can see the vision of where this could
Mhm.
go. He is absolutely not. He's all numbers and facts and science and so yeah. So he gets intrigued on the things that I pick and wants to know, okay, well, what are you going to do with this? And then he got addicted to getting on Facebook Marketplace and finding furniture pieces for me. He kept sending me like all these. I'm like, will you get off a
Oh
marketplace?
my gosh, I need your husband.
He's like, well, what about this? What about that? But he is a book person. He loves reading books. And so now when we go to the bins, he goes straight to the book bins, gets all of these old antique books that he wants in his collection. And he just,
Oh,
that's his thing. That's his niche. So
that's awesome.
yeah, but now he's gotten to the point to where he's like, okay, my wife will like that. I'm going to pick it up for her, So it's definitely one of our date days. Every
Yeah.
Tuesday we like to go out and hang out and thrift and have lunch and
Oh, I love it.
yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so I have to make note of that. Don't text on Tuesday. You said Tuesdays, right?
Oh, you can text whatever.
Oh, that's
I still
awesome.
answer them.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so have you always had a love of thrifting then, or was it just started because you started doing stuff in your house and then you needed items to continue on with upcycling?
Yeah, I was like you, like thrifting, especially going into a thrift store as a teenager. I might be dating myself, but it was not cool back then at
Mhm.
all. And so I was literally mortified to go into thrift stores. But my grandma always went into there, so I'd have to go with her. And as I got older and yeah, started creating things, I started going after church with my dad to thrift stores, and we would go to antique stores and vendor malls, and that's how we spent our time together. And so we really connected through that. And um, I was just astonished at what I could find at a thrift store, like so many brand name things for a fraction of the price. I was like, this is amazing. What was
Mhm.
I thinking when I was a kid?
Right,
You get past that stage of what people think about you, you
right.
know. Um, and I'm like, I'm at that stage. I don't care where I get it. I can get it on the side of the road. I'm going to make something cool out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely took several years of getting over that. What do people think of me? And I have to have the highest and brand names, and that's not what I am anymore. I
Right.
don't care.
No, I know. I know.
So
Yeah. So, and it's amazing because I do hang out with a group of gals, and they're very into fashion and like the latest trends. And so it's funny. We'll go out to dinner and I'll have a shirt on, and they'll be like, "Where did you get that?" And I'll be like, "Goodwill." It was like $2.99. And now I've gotten a little bit more savvy about using Google Lens. So if you guys don't know what Google Lens is, bring up Google, and there's like a little lens, click it, you take a photo of the item and it will tell you where it's from. And so now I have found a lot of different things from like Anthropology, or, now I'm kind of getting better at like the brand names just because I hang out with them so often.
Right?
So but it's funny because some of the it's amazing, like, people are it's so easy for people to dispose of things or, like, get rid of items. So they'll buy something and they'll want it, and then they really don't want it. So many times, like, the clothing is used one time, they get rid of it, it's, like, brand new, and they have spent, like, anywhere, like, upwards of 60, $70, and then they donate it, and that's exactly it with home decor.
Right.
So we're like rescuing. So sometimes I even buy items and just resell, like as is. And,
Right.
but I do really prefer upcycling. So,
Yeah.
but
I'm a person, I love to recycle things if I can, or use as much as I possibly. I'm the person that takes the soap bar and the little piece that people usually throw away, I stick it on top of the new one so I don't waste it.
oh my gosh.
But
Yes.
yeah, I like rescuing things that otherwise would end up in a landfill, which is ridiculous to me,
Hmm.
when they can
Yeah.
have a full new life as something else. So,
Absolutely. So, tell me this, while you're all thrifting, have you become, more, do you look for specific items, or it's just a free for all, like, whatever I'm feeling today or whatever I find?
it's definitely now targeted because when I first started, like I said, I don't have a budget. And I would spend so much money, and that's how I ended up with my basement, my storage unit, and my garage being completely full because I was like, I know exactly what I can do with this. But then I would put it down there and never do it.
Right.
So I am very much more, I need, I'm looking for a lampshade, or I'm looking for some glassware for a different piece to upcycle. Or, yeah, I definitely go in and I'm very picky on what I get now. I'm more geared towards antiques and fine dishware, things like that. But then I love me an old box that I could, stamp on or upcycle or decoupage, or small tables. That's what seems to be selling right now, is not so much the big furniture, it's the smalls,
Mhm.
like you said. So people are still just, I don't know, the market this time of year, or this year in all, is very strange. It's just, it goes up and then it just dives. And for some
Mhm.
reason, smalls are a consistent part of that. Like, they just continue to get the smalls, but furniture is an up and down thing. So
Right.
yeah, I'm just looking for smalls basically when I go
Okay.
thrifting.
That topic came up in conversation when all the vendors had a little moment to breathe at Antique Acres, that it's amazing that the furniture that we have and we upcycle, it's like it has stood the test of time. It was made, most of it's vintage or antique, but it is solid wood.
Mhm.
It has got dovetailed core, like everything is like so good about it. It is sturdy. It's going to last another 100 years. And yet, the younger generation, they're going to IKEA and they're
Right?
getting pressboard and they're spending an absolute fortune on something that's gonna fall apart in a year.
Yeah,
And
and end up
so
in the dump.
yes, and it's exactly, and there's no way that we're gonna upcycle that stuff
Oh,
because,
no. No, I won't even
um,
go near it.
it's gonna fall apart. And so I always think like, why aren't they thinking like that? That why don't they have that mindset? Because they should.
Mhm.
And I keep trying to instill that in my children. Like, this is like my daughter, like we picked out her furniture. We found it at one of the local thrift stores, but it's absolutely gorgeous. She picked out the colors, the hardware, everything. And I absolutely love it. So I hope that she moves out, that continues on
Yes.
and she doesn't
Instilled
go
in
to,
the brain. Like
yes, I
my
know.
daughter, yeah, she's 9, but she loves to go thrifting with me. Like this is what I want her to do. I want her to be able to DIY on her own. I want her to feel confident and independent. And so I take her thrifting with me and I say, okay, here's a dresser. We're gonna upcycle this for your bedroom. And it was antique. All of her pieces are pretty much antique. The same exact thing. So she's definitely going to have that mindset of, I can do that without having to spend $700, on a
Mhm.
dresser that's not going to last. So I've
Right.
always taught her, take care of your things and they'll last forever.
Right. I know, and with my daughter too, she used to like, when she was little, like at 9, she loved going thrifting with me. But then she got to the age where she was like, I don't know, she went through that whole embarrassment, stage that I kind of mentioned in my previous episode. But then now all of a sudden, it's like the cool thing for all the high schoolers. So
Yes.
I had asked her like several times, do you want to go to the bins with me? Oh, no. All of a sudden, hey, you want to go to the bins? I'm like, what changed? And then I found out like all these people from her high school, that's what they do for
Yeah.
part of their summer jobs is they go there, they pick, but theirs is all clothing and then they resell all this
Right.
clothing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
Same with our daughter. She's Ruby's 16. Same thing. She's like, I'll go to the bins with you. Because she knows she can get a cart full for just like $10.
right. Yeah. Yeah, so that's exactly it. She'll say to me like, "Can I get this?" I'm like, "Do you like it? Do you love it? I mean, are you gonna wear it?" These are things that you have to ask yourself, and if you're not going to wear it, then no, don't get it. But yeah, she always is getting cartfuls of stuff too, and she has some of the best stuff. Like we found Lululemon there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so she was like, "Oh my gosh, look at I found Lululemon. How did that nobody else find it?" I'm like, "Because there's a ton of clothes."
Yes.
Yes. Now, do you have specific favorite spots that you guys thrift at, or do you like just go to the same spots, or do you try new spots? Are you on the hunt for new spots?
Debbie, my friend, got me onto this new thrift store. It's called the Fitty Club, and you pay a membership of 149 a year, and you go in, and whatever piece you get is 50 cents. So each piece is 50
Okay.
cents. So you can have up to 250 items per month. So that might be
That's
my
awesome.
favorite new one because I was like, you can get a chair for 50 cents and upcycle it, or a bed,
Mhm.
or they have furniture, they have everything. It's like going to the Goodwill bins on steroids, but hardly anybody there. So I was like, this is cool.
Where do they get all their pieces? Do people
I
donate them?
don't honestly know, but I
Okay.
saw their storage unit
Mhm.
and it was floor to ceiling, like for
Really?
all the way back from the store. And I'm like, where do you guys get all your donations? I don't understand. But
Yeah.
it's also helping men become sober, gives them jobs, and kind of gets them on their feet. So there's a
Okay.
purpose behind it. But yeah, there's a couple of church ones that I like to go to. And then, of course, when summer hits, I kind of stay away from the stores and hit the yard sales and estate sales. So,
I know I have to start hitting up yard sales big time because like it's the spring and then they stop, like then they dwindle off as the
yep,
summer goes on. It's the early ones that are really good. And
really
I just
good. Yeah.
haven't, yeah, I'm like, I haven't had time. So yes. I also have one other question because the day that this happened to me, I almost fell over. Has anyone recognized you yet while you've been out thrifting?
No,
Okay.
I'm just a wee baby on YouTube.
Oh, you are not. Your channel is growing like crazy.
It is
So
growing, but I don't. That's gonna because I was like when I met you at Debbie Beard's paint inlay thing. I was like in awe of all the YouTubers like you and Jamie Ray, and I was the fangirl. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh, if somebody did that to me, I don't know how I would take it.
it's funny. I know, like the first time, like somebody like, "Oh my God, Sonnet?" Like I was at the bins. And so here I was like, "Oh my, they know me?" Like that at first I was like, like, how do they know me? And then all of a sudden they're like, "I watch you all the time." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, duh. Yeah, you're on
Yeah.
you're on YouTube, but
Well, actually,
yeah.
in our group was the first one that recognized me. I can't remember her name, but she was like, "Oh, there's Tara from the Reclaim Ranch." And so when we got done, I ran downstairs. I was, "Honey, somebody recognized me."
Oh my gosh. And more people will, as your channel grows,
Yeah, I'm
definitely
sure.
more and more. So I was just wondering, like, has it happened yet? So
Not yet. Not out in the
not
wild.
yet. No, not out in the wild. I love it. Oh, it's like when I'm looking for ironstone out in the wild, like,
Yes. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's
But
awesome. Okay, so I found out how your business started, how you grew to love thrifting. How did your YouTube journey actually begin?
well, obviously I was creating because I had to have something for my booths. And so while I create, I would watch YouTube.
Yeah.
And of course I would watch you and Heather. And Heather really inspired me quite a bit because I watched her before she even had a booth. And then so it was kind of fun. We were just creating together, and then she's like, "I think I'm gonna get a booth." And I'm like, "You go, girl."
That's
And
awesome.
then once she started like showing the aspects of the business part of the booth, I was like, "That's so cool." I'm like, "She's kind of my age. You're a little younger, but kind of my age." And I'm like, "I can probably do this. I can probably just hit record."
You could do it.
I can
Yes.
do
Yeah.
it. And so I was like, I'm not out to make a big channel. I'm not out to make a lot of money on YouTube. My purpose is to teach. I
Mhm.
love teaching. I used to teach crafting at assisted living places. And so if somebody can watch my channel and get some knowledge that they never knew, that's my goal. Like
Mhm.
I've done what I've wanted to do. And so I was like, okay, we're just going to do it. Just dive right on in. And ever since then, it's been a year. May 6th was my first YouTube video. And
Awesome.
so, yeah, it's grown beyond what I even could imagine. Um, and so I just hope to keep growing and keep teaching. And I
And you
love answering questions with the viewers, and it's just been fun. So, yeah, I went from one video a week to two now. And it's
Well,
definitely keeping me on my toes.
great. So, one of my favorite videos that you did, well, I have numerous. I actually but the recent one that you did of your fridge. So, if you guys
Oh,
haven't seen this yet, Tara took a piece of decoupage paper, it's of a horse, and she put it on her fridge. It's absolutely outstanding. So, what paper was it that you used again?
it was from Whimsical
Oh,
Designs. And so,
okay.
yeah, I was like, that's just one thing. I just kind of look around the house and get a hair at my rear and go, let's decoupage the fridge today. Or let's paint some cabinets. Or
Right. Yeah.
let's redo
Oh
a
my god.
bathroom.
A hair up your rear. I say a bug up my butt. I always say that. I
Okay.
get a bug up my butt, and then I'm like, I gotta do something. So, but yeah, so that is one video that I absolutely love. Another one I have to ask. So, Tara did a video last year where she used milk paint on her deck. How did that hold up over winter?
I was going to tell you about that. It's actually held up really well. Now, I've
Okay.
got three dogs. They
Yep.
are crazy. So you can see, when they jump off the deck or jump on the deck or whatever. But as far as the milk paint and the tung oil, like none of it's peeling.
Okay.
It's great. I am really impressed with it.
Okay.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah, because we get snow, we get all kinds of
Yes.
weather here. And so yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely a winner for me, for
I
sure.
am going to try it then on our deck. So,
Yeah.
long story short, the reason that intrigued me when I saw that video is because up north on our deck, The very first year we were there, I ended up, Bear had come out with this like deck stain. I did that. And then within one winter, the entire deck, it like was not stained. So it never like penetrated the wood. And we had, like properly cleaned it and everything, it actually like flaked off. I'm like, it's more like paint than stain but it felt like when I put it on, it was stain. So then I went back and they're like, oh yeah, that all got recalled, So then we were kind of gun shy about it, doing it again. And then I used Sherwin-Williams deck stain. That held up much longer, and I get you have to restain things but I'm like, well, if it could last more than like a couple years, that would be awesome. So,
right. And not flake off. Mine did the same
right.
exact thing. I stained the deck every year, but it was just peeling off like you didn't prep the surface, it was weird. But yeah, this milk paint, it definitely seeps down in the grain, and I'm impressed. I would definitely recommend it.
And it was Fusion's milk paint?
Fusion. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I'm sure any milk paint, Sweet Pickens, or, would do the same thing. So,
right. Because what I noticed too, that I feel like when I use, I've only used Fusion a couple times, but when I use Sweet Pickens, it almost like it hardens and it's like rock solid. And I think once it's sealed, it's even better. So
yeah.
I know I have been dabbling with both of the milk paints and I'm loving it. Now I have so much to play around with and experiment with that I'm going to have to do that a little bit more on my channel.
Yeah, I do. I was using Sweet Pickens before I did Fusion, but of course if I'm going to be selling Fusion, I might as well sell their product and use it as well. But yeah, Sweet Pickens has a lot of better colors, I think, or more variety, I should say.
More variety, yeah. So that's exactly it. Like it does have a huge, like a big variety. There's multiple colors. And when I started selling Fusion, and I started selling, the paint like you, and then I did the milk paint, and I really loved all the colors for Sweet Pickens as well. So I sell that now too. But yeah, so it just only makes sense to be able to offer all of it, like you said. So now tell me this, how has YouTube helped your business?
Well, obviously, with my website, it's definitely got me some orders.
Yeah, people are finding you, right?
So that helps. And it's definitely seeing all the creative things that you can do. I have now, like before, I didn't sell any product, but I've now, brought in decoupage paper. I brought in Fusion, and my absolute favorite is IOD and DIY paint. However, my good friend Debbie has the territory. So I've been looking outside of that, other great products to bring in. And it's just really grown the business in both the booths as well. So I say, follow me on YouTube. I have a sign in there, and I've gotten a lot of people say, we were in your booth and we saw your sign. And so it's definitely getting my name out there, more in the community. And it's definitely helping my little business grow. So I'm going to stay.
Yeah. I know. I could never not do YouTube. I don't think I know, recently I saw on YouTube some creators that have been doing it for years and years have are walking away. And I'm like, what?
Ooh.
I could never walk away. I don't know why. Maybe eventually I'll feel like I want to, but I love it so much. It is literally my favorite platform, to be on. So
yes, it's my favorite one to watch too. So.
And I feel like, don't get me wrong. I just feel like more like YouTube, the viewers are much more kind than sometimes when I put videos out on some of the other platforms.
Yes, there is definitely a different audience on YouTube.
Absolutely. And they're there to learn. And I love getting feedback too from my viewers. So in a constructive, kind way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always constructive and kind. Be kind to one another.
Right. So as you are upcycling and getting ready to, come up with your next video, what really inspires you? So when you like decide now you're doing 2 videos like me a week. So I know some like today I had a major creative block. And I'm like, come on, come on. I had to like pep talk myself to get into the mode. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. And I wanted to do a video, but for tomorrow. And how do you overcome that, or like what inspires you to create?
Anything really. I love nature. I love, especially spring is my favorite time of the year. So I'll go out and I'll look at all the trees and all the blossoms and the birds coming in and the bees. And I really like this is a time of year where I really start getting inspired to create with decoupage papers that have the bees incorporated or the birds. Color is another one, like doing certain vignettes with colors. Um, just basically anything. If I get a block, I'll go to Pinterest or I'll go to a website and kind of just scroll through real quick and go, I've got that in my basement. Let's upcycle it. Or I
Right.
go down in my basement and go, okay, what are we gonna do today? Who
I do
wants
that
to go
too.
next?
I
So
know.
yeah, it just is there's always gonna be a block at certain times where okay, you get in a mood where like, oh, I don't feel creative today, or but you gotta push through it. You gotta just
Mhm.
but once I get into that my studio and start creating, it brings up my mood. It makes me feel happy again, you know? And
Mhm.
so yeah, I'll just look at something and go, what could I turn you into that's totally different but still functional and pretty?
Yes.
So, I
Yes.
mean, yeah, a lot of creators inspire me, but I tend to like this is my goal for this year is to create outside my box. Like my thinking was I have to do it like this or I have to do it a certain way, but getting into that artist mode where you don't have to stay in the lines when you color. You don't have to, that's my mentality is type A. Like I have to color in the
Mhm.
lines and I have to be so perfect. But I'm finding that when you're not perfect, it's so freeing and it turns out better than you
Mhm.
can think, your projects.
Right.
So it's been a fun transition to kind of go that route. But yeah. I get a lot of inspiration just from being outside.
Awesome. So, who are some of your top creators that you loved watching? I know you named, Heather,
You
yeah, and me and Jamie Ray, but who are
and
some of
Jamie
the
Ray.
yeah, who are
I also watch Erin from the
Revenge of the Pod
Australian.
Yep. Oh my gosh, so she was on my live the other day, when Heather and I were live, she showed
Oh.
up, and it was funny because Heather's like, "She's from Australia," and I said, "No, she's from Canada." And then Heather's like, "I'm pretty sure," like, here we are talking about it, like, "I'm pretty sure her accent is Australian." I'm like, I think it's Canadian." So then we're like, "Hey, Erin, can you tell
Erin.
us, like, what are you? Where are you from?" And then she said, "Australia." And so,
Yep. Yeah,
um
I love listening to her. And also another one is Tracy from Rural Refurb.
oh, I
She's
haven't
from
heard of her.
England.
Oh.
So yeah, she's got a gorgeous house that she herself has she's very wealthy. It looks
Okay.
like her house is amazing, but she goes to the local thrift stores, finds things and upcycles them. And I just love that about her.
Yeah.
She's not proud of, having to have the perfect stuff in her house and her house is just gorgeous. And then I did watch Julie's Designs and Signs quite a bit. I love her aesthetic where she has a lot of the ironstone and the wood tones and the whites. And that's kind of where I evolved. First, I was all farmhouse. And now I've kind of, like you can see in the back, collaborating with antiques and all different kinds of things. So yeah, just people that are in that mindset is where I am guided to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I know I love watching Julie too. And I love how like her staging, how she stages things.
Yes.
So
She's taught me a lot on staging.
yeah. 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 Very cool. Um, so what have, like what struggle, like, have you had to overcome any like struggles or obstacles with, that whole creative side or like YouTube side? Have you like, even like with YouTube, have you had to overcome any obstacles yet for that? Or has it just been pretty smooth sailing?
It's never smooth sailing when you have your own business.
I know. I know.
There's definitely obstacles. Staying consistent, staying in the mindset to be consistent is
Mm-hmm.
key. Boy, I noticed when I got sick, really sick, I said, I'm not going to be able to have a video today. And then I lost some subscribers. I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
you just really have to stay on your game.
Yeah.
So yeah, being consistent is definitely key. And just sometimes coming up with enough content for two videos a week. But I'm working through it. That was one of our things in our group is let's get through our inventory. And so I
Right.
went on a thrifting hiatus for 2.5 months, and that killed me because I have FOMO.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good to clean out and start fresh and purge. And now I am more on, target buying. But still the budget thing.
So, okay. So did you say you have a budget or you don't have a budget?
I think I'm supposed to.
Okay. 'Cause it's funny, like, I was trying to come up, I'm like, "Okay, what questions can I ask her?" And then I'm like, "I'm confused about this budget thing now."
Like in a normal business, you would have a budget for your inventory, a budget for, I don't. I just, if I like something, I pick it up. And my husband's like, do you realize how many things you're buying? I'm like, yeah, I'll get to them eventually, but then bringing on product, that was another hit for budget.
Oh, I hear you, sister,
But
I know.
it takes money to get money. So yeah, eventually I'm sure I'll have a more streamlined budget someday,
Okay.
but
So you don't have a budget when you go to a thrift store. That's
Mm,
kinda like, yeah,
no.
no, and I don't have a budget when I go to a thrift store. It's kind of a free for all.
Yeah,
But next week I'm gonna talk about how I've become a lot more smart about my, what I'm purchasing and why.
exactly. Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna give away all my, the whole
Yes.
episode, but let me tell you, it has been, as I'm organizing, and going through stuff, it's just made me realize a lot of stuff. So that'll be in next week's episode.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode.
Oh my lord. Yeah, you guys are gonna learn a lot in that one. And words of advice, because it sounded like, after I did not realize that you had a booth first, then you had a business, and then a YouTube.
I know, I'm backwards on everything.
But it's kind of funny because it's like, with Heather, she had her YouTube first, then she got a booth, and then, like it was, I don't even know if,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and then like her business at that point. So,
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just different on everybody's aspect of how their businesses evolved. Like,
right. Everyone's is different.
yeah,
So any words of advice for starting off on YouTube?
hit record.
Yeah.
You're not going to be perfect on your first video at all. Like I haven't even watched my first video still. But that's how you grow.
Right.
You just keep going and you get better and you learn new things. And just the whole editing the video was another realm of a learning curve. Definitely was scared to hop on, but as you get going, you figure
Mhm.
things out, and you just got to do it. And you have to stay consistent. Like,
Right.
make yourself a timeline. Okay, every Friday at this. Mine's not really on like a specific hour timeline. I just say I'm going to have a video every Tuesday and Friday. So start out like that. Just start once a week, once every other week. But the more consistent you are, and the more you're on there, the more your YouTube channel will grow.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. I had to do a time. I'm very like structured that way. Like, okay, this time or this day at this time. And so that's what I do. But
Yes. I'll eventually maybe get to a time, but I'm like, I'll get it out on Tuesday.
Yeah. No, and you're so correct when you said consistency is key because I realized that very early on that people were waiting for my videos to actually upload and be there. And if there were like, I just remember when I was having all my internet problems and it
Okay.
was not uploading and like I was like here freaking out like why is my video not uploading and they were waiting for me, and people would be like, "Where are you? Why didn't you upload your video?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry." I know.
Trying.
I That was like the best thing since sliced bread when I got the right internet. So,
Right?
but
Yeah.
yes, honestly, consistency, I would agree with you 100%. Um, Now I know that you started off with, your booth life first and then your business. Have you had any struggles? I mean, it sounds like booth life has been great for you. I mean, you started one and it was great, then you started another one. Have you had any challenges with your booths?
Yes. I tend to kind of go all in. I'm the one that jumps in feet first and then thinks about it later.
Okay.
So my first booth was humongous, like
Oh,
huge.
okay.
And so I struggling to just not have to pay rent. Like because I was new, you gotta, I think, start small. Start
Mhm.
with a shelf or a little kiosk. And as people get to know your products and know you as a creator, then work your way up to a
Mhm.
bigger booth. With me, I was kind of drowning. Like I ended up having to pull out of the big one and get a smaller booth. And then when that was outgrowing, then I got that second booth.
Okay.
And it's in a different location, which makes it kind of nice. So definitely, I would advise start small. And then, like I said, rent is so different in each vendor mall you go to. Like, um, and you have to pay your taxes and on top of rent and your commissions. And so, be mindful of how much money you're actually spending versus how much you're getting back. Like I was like, oh, I had a couple of sales. I didn't have to pay rent. I'm doing awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not making any money. I'm just
Right.
paying rent for the owner of the store.
Mhm.
That's who, like, one of my good friends, Jennifer, she's got her own store now, and she's taught me a lot on the business side of it. Like, no, you're not making money. I'm like, but I made rent. Like, she's
Right.
like, but you're not taking home any money.
Right. Yes.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So she's definitely opening my eyes to, okay, now this is a business. I have to be smart about what I'm doing.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and, like, one of my very first episodes, I talked about that, like, my booth life and how that evolved, and there was one booth, no matter what I tried, I could never make it was like all my other booths were like, I was making like a lot of money. And then this one booth, I'm like, I tried everything and I don't know why I held on for so long. And I'm like, and that's when my mom and dad are like, this is your business on it. You have to like, even though you love that owner of that business, you cannot support him. You have to
Right.
support yourself. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're right.
And
So
another thing is it's like it's kind of like you feel like you're a failure if you don't make it, and that's
yeah,
not it at all. A
no.
lot of times, like you said, it's location,
Mhm.
and do they market themselves? Do they, you know,
Or how they
uh,
market themselves.
right,
That's
promoting yeah. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenge this year again. It's just up and down. So we'll see where it goes.
right. I know there's a member in our membership group. She made a really good point that this year, because of like across the board, I think like a lot of vendors are struggling to make booth rent. This is going to be the year to see who is going to withstand the storm. And so I don't know, what's behind it or why this year has been so rocky. But yeah, it definitely like all of a sudden, like this month started off so strong and then it kind of like slowed down. I'm like, come on. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I'm blaming it on rummage sales, but
Yard sales are coming in.
Barnyard sales, but
Yeah, there's it's kind of been scary in the Spokane area. There's been a lot of long-term businesses that have shut down. So people are just kind of crying out, buy local, stay away from the big box stores. And so
I know.
we'll
I
see.
know. I hope that people, can keep that. Well, like Small Business Saturday. And it's like, that's not the only day that you have to support small businesses. You guys should
Right.
all be like people should be supporting small businesses all the time.
Yeah, year round.
Yes, absolutely. And, it's like there's so much behind each and every single small business. It's like they all put their heart and soul into their business. And sometimes, like those big box stores, it's like, oh,
I know. But I'm the type of person, I don't want gifts that everybody else can have. I
I
want
know,
something that's just, going to be mine, like
right?
a
It's
one-time.
unique.
Yeah, like nobody else is going to have that. Kind of like what Royce was saying. Nobody else is going to have that piece of furniture. And so I'm willing to spend a little bit more because I know the person spent a lot of time and energy and the process of upcycling and things like that to have a unique piece that's going to
Right.
last a long time, other than
Absolutely.
something that's going to fall apart in 6 months.
I had said a year, but I think 6 months too.
Yeah, there's some things.
Right. Yeah. I know. Yes. So, well, good. Well, I am so excited to really see how your business continues to grow, how your YouTube continues to grow. I know we're definitely talking about different revenue streams within, our membership groups. So I cannot wait to see where you take your business. And now, if my viewers want to find you, where are you located? Like,
Well, definitely on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
And Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, all due
Okay.
to Sonnet.
Okay. All good. I know I made her rip the Band-Aid off and, or like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like, "Oh, you're pushing me off of a bridge, Sonnet."
But that's how I work well, is under pressure. And sometimes you just have to push me off. And then I either sink or swim.
Right. No, absolutely. So yes, so we can find you on all those platforms. I will have everything linked to in the description. So, but I want to thank you so much for being on my podcast today.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I know my
Amazing.
viewers are gonna fall in love with you just like I did. Like I said, you felt like we were friends, right from the very beginning. And they're gonna see how extremely talented you are with all your upcycling and your thrifting and all your good finds. So definitely check Tara out. So in next week's episode, though, guys, I kind of hinted I'm going to be diving into why I have become a picky thrifter to really help control my hoard. So stay tuned for that for next week. I will be diving into all of that. But if you guys are listening to me on any of the podcast platforms, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you guys don't miss out on an episode. You can also find me over on Instagram and Facebook at Sonnets Garden Blooms, where I put out a lot more content. I'm on YouTube as well. And I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we are going to see you guys next week. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.